value education has become popular in the education world because it's a way, it's like a really kind of politically correct way, a smooth way, an acceptable way of teaching spirituality without calling it spirituality. The separation of church and state doctrine, not only in America, it's other places. So separation of church and state means you can teach religion, but you can't teach religion in schools. You can teach religious studies, but you can't teach religion. So the way that they kind of like made it a smoothie is value education. So this is Gita Values. It's for secular world that kind of gets nervous, or at least some parents of students get nervous when they hear religion is being taught to my child and my religion is this instead of that, and so they get nervous. So it's called value education. So it's Gita Values. That's why the label, that's my understanding. And so they, together, the Oxford University professors and some ISKCON devotees, I think Shesha Prabhu was also involved because he, at that time, was the Minister of Education. So they came up with 6. It's not like there's only 6 values, but they selected 6 that are kind of outstanding and that they're sequential. So if somebody can tell me who I should send this to, I can send you the 6. I'll send it to you. Okay, you forward it to whoever. And that's what we're doing for Gita Jayanti. And there's like 4 kind of introductory slides before we start with Gita value number 1. Spiritual culture and its values. Now, this is not in the Oxford University stuff. This is me trying to introduce the topic. There's another thing that's in the secular world. The picture comes and goes. Anyway, we may need to replace your computer. Not you, the computer. Cultural engineering is a term that's popular in the world. Something like when a corporation buys out another corporation and they want to take a look at the org chart, the structure of that organization. So they do cultural engineering. They look at the culture of the organization and consider what they might want to do to improve because they bought out the company. And the same kind of structure, it's different, but it's at least similar, has to do with organization, not for-profit organizations, religious organizations, or groups of people that want to do something. You'll see as we're going forward. So that's this is now instead of the culture of spiritual life and its values. So here's a way to look at the iceberg of culture. Have you seen this illustration before? Yes, some of you have. From me or from the world? From me. Have you seen this before? This whole thing, that Gita Values? No. Okay. Okay, so there's an iceberg. And one of the very obvious things about an iceberg is there's the tip of the iceberg, and then there's this big thing underneath the tip of the iceberg. If only what was that ship that sank and crashed into Titanic? Yeah. They forgot what's below. So anyway, the iceberg of culture has this 3 parts. There's measurable things, perceivable things that's part of culture. This way of looking at things is called artifacts, behaviors, things you can touch with your senses, perceivable stuff, including, what people say and how they say it. There's culture of perceivable things. And that's part of culture. But it's not the only part of culture. There's a big part that's underneath that tip. And the thing that's directly beneath the tip is stated values. In the world, there's mission statements, official beliefs like Prabhupada's, the Articles of Incorporation stating the 7 purposes of ISKCON. That's an example of official beliefs. What we say is important. And the two interact. If you want to modify values, you can work on people adjusting their behaviors. And if you want to adjust behaviors, you can help have people pay attention to their values that drive the behaviors. So there's interplay between the two is the point. And then there's that big bottom of the iceberg, and that's deeply held implicit convictions, beliefs, unchallenged certainties. Like, in the American, Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths, So every living entity, all men are created equal. They're endowed with their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and so those are unchanged. Values can change, behaviors can change, but what's at the very bottom doesn't change. At least you live your life with that conviction, certain, not just a value, but it's an unchanging reality. So we're not going to spend so much time with the unchanging realities, but the values, because values influence behaviors. And 2 more things. We often think of or speak of or portray to others. I do this when dealing with people that kind of get nervous with when you say Krishna's name or say God or something like that. So you just say wisdom literature. It's really comfortable for most people. Wisdom literature. So Bhagavad-Gita is a wisdom literature. It has knowledge in the higher sense of knowledge, not in the lower sense of knowledge. The lower sense of knowledge means, data, like information. Information, no transformation, that kind of knowledge or information. But in the higher sense, that which builds character, it helps one act wisely. It's influenced by goodness, and it leads to elevation of consciousness, that kind. So Bhagavad Gita is presenting all of that, and these values are like that too. It's not just information. You can have let's take a real easy one. My recollection is pretty close. In the year 2000, there were all kinds of surveys done. And one of the surveys done was what percentage of, whatever that population that they surveyed, believe in the soul. And it's a really big number, a percentage. Of the Americans interviewed in the year 2000, something close to 89% of those persons interviewed believe in the soul. Now that's information. That's not how they live their life. So wisdom is how you live your life. There's an alignment between what you know and what you do. So when we speak of Gita Values, there's this, those of you that have been around me know what this liminal space term means. It's On the one side is where we are, the other side is where we want to go, and there's a big gap between where we are and where we want to go. And that space in between is the liminal space. And that Gita Values also is a big liminal space. So it's not just there are our behaviors align with our values, but our values are consistent. Because some people, too often, have values that are not consistent. Now, some people have values that are consistent, which is very nice. And then you follow values in a consistent manner, it'll take you somewhere. There's still liminal space. Anyway, the transition between where we are and where we want to go has its discomfort. So this is a kind of you can breathe easy to know that these values, they're fundamental, but we're not there yet. But that's okay. There's lots of us that aren't there yet, and we have lots of company, and we want to get there. And the good news in Bhagavad-Gita is that Krishna is there to help us make that transition. Without Krishna there to help us, it's pretty lonely and scary. But sometimes, feelings of hopelessness, etc. But the Krishna factor is there. And so now we're going to start with the first of the 6 Gita Values, Samadarshana. Samadarshana. Real easy. You know what the word darshan means? When you go to the temple to see the deity.
Paying obeisances.
What's it? Darshan means to see the deity, right? Right? So, deity darshan.
Yeah.
So, darshan means to see. And sama darshana means to see with equally. Sama, equal vision. Pandita Samadarshana. There's 2 verses that are directly speaking about Samadarshana in Bhagavad Gita, and others are addressing it in a general way. So that's our topic for this evening, Samadarshana as a value of how to live your life. You know, the tip of the iceberg part, the value that drives the behavior, and then the unchanging reality at the bottom. So here we go. Samadarshana in a world that has all variety. I don't think anyone has seen a tree that looks like that, but there's lots of different varieties of fruits, lots of varieties of insects, lots of varieties of birds, lots of varieties of aquatics, including a sunken ship down there, and varieties of animals, and more varieties of animals, and lots of varieties, lots of differences. And we didn't touch the human species yet, so we'll go to the human species, and there's lots of variety of color and culture and dress and language and all kinds of differences, and different nations that hold their values and so forth according to their culture and their way of life. So we're starting to get a picture here that the goal is Samadarshana, but it's a little difficult to get there, it looks like. And there's different reactions from different people. This is still now just human species, but let's not forget the other species. There's so many differences and differences. Different life forms, different people, different situations, different exchanges. Now, with all of those differences, how are you supposed to stitch together this equal vision? It can be challenging, right? It can be very challenging. But Bhagavad Gita has the answer, or at least the wisdom of how to get there. The graphics, I didn't create this, somebody else did, but I like the graphics. At the bottom right corner, that's a key. In the upper left corner, that's a lock in the shape of a heart. So the graphics means it opens the heart. Gita's idea of equal vision speaks of the equality of all living beings, where life is respected regardless of. This is for general audiences. And Prabhupada would sometimes use these terms. And it is important because Bhagavad-Gita is for everyone, but there's some people that wish to kind of have exclusive rights to explain it or teach it or live by it or something. There are people who have those kinds of ideas, but it's not a Bhagavad Gita idea. This is an image, by the way, it was taken directly from some years ago. I don't know, 20 years ago, some number of years ago. BBT Europe put together a little presentation on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in a, I forget what you call it, but a little video, and you click on the topic, and then it plays a little thing and explains that topic, and then it ends. You click on another topic. So this is from there, and it's an illustration to show all those little lights, that's souls. So there's souls within the animal form, soul within the bird form, souls everywhere, sarvagata, right? Souls everywhere. Say it negatively. Is there some place where there's not souls? There's souls everywhere. So the souls are everywhere, but the forms of life are very different. With all these differences, the commonality is the soul. The unchanging, remember the bottom of the iceberg, the unchanging, eternal spiritual energy. That's what's the commonality. That's the basis of this Samadarshana. All living beings are spirit souls. So there's the body, and there's the subtle body, like it's described in Bhagavad-Gita chapter 13. When a soul gets a particular body, they behave according to that body. The observable tip of the iceberg thing. Dogs wag their tail and bark and chew on bones. And that same spirit soul could become a king. And kings don't do those things. They don't have a tail. So the body that you receive impels a certain kind of behavior. One thing drives the other thing. But regardless of the behavior, the commonality is there's spirit soul within. And one who identifies with the coverings, like I'm this body, and then others are their body, and that's the identification of self and others. And spiritual, or the Gita value, is to see the soul, or at least through the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, understand the soul is present and relate to others, yes, according to their bodily differences, but yes, according to the fact that they're spirit soul. So that's a little drawing showing a spirit soul. And the spirit soul's makeup is Satchitananda, eternality, knowledge and bliss, or cognizant and blissful. That's what souls are. And obviously the covering is not any one of those three. Cute photograph. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And amongst varieties. Spiritual beings having a human experience. So this is has anyone here taking Teacher Training Course Part 1? TTC, 2 of you. Part 1. 3 of you. You have. Teacher Training Course, Part 1. So 4. So one of the techniques or teaching principles or methods they teach is interactive sessions, not just lecturing. That's what this is. This is an interactive session. And it works as long as the audience moves with the facilitator. So let's try it. There's 2 sessions that are interactive in this. This is a meditation on feel your soul. Fantastic. You want to feel your soul. You have to follow along. It starts with bringing your mind to a reflective state, and deep breaths help. So I'll lead you into deep breath method. So I'll make it. After this comes close your eyes, and then I'm going to make some suggestions. But the purpose is to bring the mind to a peaceful state. So breathe in very deeply, and then exhale. So breathe in. Sit it straight in, comfortable posture. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Now close your eyes and follow the suggestions. Let your mind go to your feet. Wiggle your toes and feel your feet. And then bring your mind to your calves and lower legs. And then rise a little bit to your thighs, the upper legs. Then to your waist and stomach area. Bring your attention then to your whole back. And then to the front, your chest and shoulders. Your arms. Your neck. Your face and your head. And we've just explored our body. But we're not the body. And a little exercise that we're not the mind either. When you consider the thoughts or emotions in the mind, there's the observer, that's you, and there's the thoughts and emotions in the mind. Now I'll ask you to be present with yourself. And the self is situated inside the heart. So slow, deep breath and situate yourself within your heart region. And that's you, the spirit soul within. And the soul is connected to divine grace or to the Supreme. Now we don't normally do like that, so you can open up your eyes. That's our identity, and largely we're occupied in identifying with much of those other things that we're not. Not the fact that we're the observer, but the observed. And that's the identification of self, commonly. And this identity of the self or the soul or the spiritual energy, it's very, very tiny, yet it is very powerful. It pervades and supports and give life to the gross and subtle body. According to the Upanishads, the soul is, as we know, 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. Very, very tiny. And that very, very tiny spark gives energy to the body of an elephant, as much as the body of a squirrel or an ant or some bug or something. Same soul, energizing and giving animation to bodies. Now we're ready for some Bhagavad-Gita verses. And according to Bhagavad-Gita, the senses are awarded to a living entity according to their past guna and karma. The living entity gets a body with a certain ear. There's an elephant ear. Eye, tongue, nose, and touch, which are grouped about the mind. Thus he enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So there's the soul, and there's the mind, and surrounding or grouped about the mind are the senses, and the senses then connect with sense objects. And according to different species of life, there's a liking or disliking for senses, the objects of the senses. And we're feeling attraction or repulsion. Even in different bodies, every living entity is an amazing spirit soul. This is chapter 3, Bhagavad-Gita, text 38. This is the coverings of the modes of nature. This is a little Sankhya session. According to chapter 3, text 38 purport, the consciousness of the living entity is covered, compared in the first case like a tree, where it's covered like the embryo was covered by the womb. So when the embryo is covered by the womb, most of us know that for a period of 7 months there's a state of susupti, and then after the 7th month, consciousness awakens from deep sleep to within the womb of the mother. But when that deep sleep is there, that's a mode of ignorance condition like a tree. Or in the mode of passion, like animals, is compared to mirror covered by dust. Or a little higher is fire covered by smoke, but still covered and covered and covered. That's consciousness that's covered by the illusory energy and its different modes. So we have covered consciousness, we have senses grouped around the mind, and then we have bodies that are developed according to that in the guna and karma. But that's all those differences. But the differences are all resting upon the spirit soul. So this is the Bhagavad Gita verse you're very familiar with, I'm sure. This is the Pandita Samadarshana verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastani Shuni Chaiva Svapaki Cha Pandita Samadarshana. So different bodies pictured in this illustration here. That the learned sage is that one over on the right side that looks like he's holding his danda. And over on the left side, that's the brahmana, then the cow, then the elephant, and there's a dog, and that fellow reaching for the dog is the dog eater. Wouldn't want to meet that guy. But he's a spirit soul, within at least. And the humble sage or sages, they have this wisdom that's not just information, but they can actually live their lives according to wisdom, that there's a spirit soul that with which they are seeing other forms, the diversities, with equal vision. This vision towards personhood. This is, the Oxford University folks, and they're languaging this Gita value. Links everyone with the divine grace. Divine grace means God. And consequently with each other. So God is at the center of all relationships. Equal vision begins with seeing ourselves as what we are and seeing other living beings as who they are. In fact, not just the covering. You see the coverings because there's coverings. And you relate appropriately to the covering, whether it's the species or even in human form. There's different persons. We relate according to elders in a certain way, and children in a certain way, and peers in a certain way, and varieties according to what's appropriate. At the same time, maintaining this wisdom that the real person is the spirit soul within. So now comes the last little part of this evening. It's another interactive session. So I'm going to ask you to think about some questions, and after you've thought about the questions, you can turn to somebody near you, 2 people or 3 people, and then discuss. So here's the Samadarshana Exercise. What are some challenging situations where you feel that you cannot see different people or specific people with equal vision for whatever the reason? Maybe they did something harsh to you or whatever. Where you have a challenge or challenging situations in relationships. Think of one person in your life with whom you have, now or in the past, difficulty. And think about that difficulty and how you felt about the difficulty. Don't get too spun out, but there's always something. So one specific incident or person. Then try this little exercise with inner vision. It doesn't change the tip of the iceberg, but the bottom of the iceberg is also there. See that person as a spirit soul, because the behavior is not the person. Behavior can change, values can change, and the person doesn't change. The spirit soul within isn't changed by getting a dog's body or a king's body. The spirit soul remains the same spirit soul. And then consider whether that helps you have a different feeling towards the person who in the past or present it has been giving you difficulty. Now, I think it was the second time that I had this discussion. It was the Illinois Institute of Technology. And after this session, there was some discussion, and then some question-answer session at the end. 4 people said it was really they found it really helpful because they took it seriously. There's some person or situation or something that was very difficult, that is very difficult, or in the past was difficult. And to separate yourself from that feeling by seeing the spirit soul. Separating the behavior from the spirit soul. I have something to share when we do our questions and answer session, but you think about this topic. It's on the screen. Think about it. When you're ready, you can turn to someone you want to share with and start having conversation and sharing. Seeing that same person as spirit soul, no matter how they may have behaved externally. So I'm just going to be quiet for a while. You can go ahead and speak. Speak so you can hear each other. You don't have to whisper. Sit together. Try to finish up 1 more minute. Okay. Your 1 minute is up. Okay, I've got a Bhagavad Gita question. I've got a Bhagavad Gita question. One more time. I have a Bhagavad Gita question. The Bhagavad Gita question is, besides this Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmanika Vihastani Shuni Chaiva Swapaki Cha Pandita Samadarshana verse, important verse. Question, what is another verse, raise your hand, don't blurt it out, another verse that says essentially the same thing? The Samadarshana message. I see one hand. I bet you all know. You don't want to embarrass me. Okay, I see 2 hands. Anyone else? Once you hear the verse, you're going to go, oh yeah, that's the verse. Go ahead. There you go. Samak sarveshu bhuteshu. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. Same. And that's the platform of Brahma-Bhutah. What's the platform of Brahma-Bhutah? It's the platform where one understands that the soul is the real self, or I am spirit soul. It's self-realization, Brahma-Bhutah. I am spirit, I am Brahman. And then there's 3 characteristics. Prasanatma, na sochati na kangsati, and samak sarveshu bhuteshu. Now, here's another question. Would you like to answer the next question? The next question is, then devotional service begins, right? That's how Prabhupada translates it, right? So what were we doing before devotional service begins? If we're not seeing Samadarshana, we're not prasanatma, not, we're still hankering and lamenting. What is that? What are we doing now if it's not then devotional service begins? You understand the question? Should I ask the question in a different way? Or do you understand the question? I don't know whether you understand the question or not. You'd rather I not ask you? Yeah, you gave the verse. Oh, that's why I'm looking at you, because you gave the verse. So the last line, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, is the last line of that verse. And Prabhupada has translated it as, and then devotional service begins. So my question is, what are we doing now if devotional service begins when you have all those characteristics which we don't have yet? You understand the question? You're looking for the answer.
If you can put it in a different way.
You want me to say the question in a different way? Okay. Which one of us would like to raise their hand and say they are neither hankering nor lamenting, or there's a happiness within that's like so wonderful that it displaces everything else because there's a happiness within that's like that, or that they see all living entities equally, even when people are harsh or something like that. So which one of us can say that we have those three qualities? Probably none of us. Since that's a given, we don't have those three qualities. Are we engaged in devotional service now, or are we not yet engaged in devotional service until those three qualities manifest? Not yet. Who would disagree with not yet? What would you say?
I would say is like we are not qualified, but by the mercy of disciplic succession, we are engaged in the service. And when we are even doing that service, we are not doing. Most of the time we are doing as a commitment, and we as a to Guru, and that way it's not pure devotional service, but a devotional service by the mercy.
Okay. Well, devotional service that's pure devotional service is also mercy. Anyone else would like to comment? Yes.
Intention to serve Krishna, whether the person is qualified or not, he should have the intention. So the process is slowly purify him that intention.
So thank you. I agree. And has devotional service begun when there is intention? Has devotional service begun when there is intention, although those three characteristics are not manifest yet? Yes. So then, please explain, can you please explain why Prabhupada says, and then devotional service begins? Why has he used that translation? It's not so tricky. It's really simple. It's really simple. Here's the simple. Devotional service is pure devotional service. Correct? Devotional service is pure. Devotional service is pure or not pure? Devotional service is pure, correct? So then devotional service begins means pure devotional service begins. And before that is, as you said, where there's an intention, although the full qualification is not there yet. So it's practice, which is also devotional service. Practice is also devotional service, but it's not matured yet. So then devotional service begins means pure devotional service that's not just beginning, but matured. Okay? Okay. That was a Bhagavad-Gita quiz question. So now let's see if there's some comments or discussion or something you'd like to bring up? Yes.
Can you clarify my doubts? We are born with we are spirit souls. So the devotional service is inside. We are up to the world. It's inside us.
It's within the soul.
It's only covered.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
But once we get the association of the devotees and by the mercy of Guru, it the bhakti comes like it's coming out of the coverings, right? My understanding is
Your understanding is correct.
okay. So that means the pure devotional service begins means even though we are doing right now, but like I'm still not getting the answer now.
Okay. Let me help you. Should I help you?
Yeah.
Here's a question to answer your question. And so I'm going to give you a multiple choice question. Tulsi is A, it's a seed. Tulsi is B, when the seed sprouts and there's 2 little leaves. Or C, Tulsi is when it's a fully matured Tulsi plant. Or D, Tulsi is when the fully matured Tulsi plant produces flowers and seeds. Or E, all of the above.
It is E.
Huh?
It is E.
C. C,
E.
D, all of the above.
Yeah.
All of the above. That was E. Okay. So that's the answer to your question. Devotional service is a topic of Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. The topic is Bhakti. And Bhakti, by definition, is devoid of karma and gyan because it's pure. When you mix karma and gyan with Bhakti, it's not pure. But Bhakti is pure. Supposing we're not there yet. It's like, the Tulsi, that's the seeds, there's stages. Sadhana is a stage of awakening. It's intrinsic. And not only it requires maturing, but as you said rightly, there's some sangha that's needed to awaken that which is now dormant. So it's 2 things. It's something that's innate and something that is required in addition to what's innate to awaken it. And so there's the effort to cultivate it, but it's still, even when we're cultivating, it's not just cultivating, it's sangha and mercy that comes with that sangha.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So that's like the different stages of a Tulsi that's from a seed to a mature that's producing flowers and seeds and everything in between. The essential part that's important for us is 2. We continue making effort and we continue being eager for the association and mercy that can help us become more mature. Supposing either one of them slackens, it won't become mature. It won't be lost, but it won't become mature either. You have something more you want to add? Okay. Anyone else? Yes, right behind you.
When can I say I am pure bhakti, Maharaj?
Can I give you the microphone? Because there may be some people listening that aren't.
When can I say if I am or someone is 100% pure bhakti?
What's the litmus test you're asking for?
What is that?
What you're looking for? What's the measure or the criterion that one can use?
What is the measure, and then how can I know?
Because same. How can you measure and how can you know? That's the same question. Well, it's in the definition. Bear with me. Are you familiar with Nectar of Devotion? Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion? Okay. Nectar of Devotion is Prabhupada's, he calls it a summary study. It's, in other words, it's not verse by verse, but it's kind of following the line of a book. The book is Rupa Goswami's book. In Sanskrit, it's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And the whole book is resting on one verse. And that's the definition of bhakti, which is, directly to your question. In that definition of bhakti, there's two parts. It's what bhakti isn't and what bhakti is. You with me? A good definition has something that's inclusive and exclusive. Supposing I say, it's Ekadasi, and I'm not hungry, but, if it's supposing, can I have some sabji? Then you might say, what kind do you want? Well, I don't like that kind, I like this kind. You get the idea. I can give other examples. Could I have a pair of kartals? And somebody brings me a pair of cymbals. I mean, like in an orchestra, big cymbals. No, not one of those. Much smaller. But I like ones that have a nice sound, not the ones that sound clunky, because there's some that sound clunky. So there's inclusive and exclusive with everything. A good definition is both. That's the point. And so Rupa Goswami gives a good definition. It's what bhakti isn't and what bhakti is. And it's addressing your question. What bhakti isn't is speculative knowledge or fruitive activity. Bhakti is neither resting upon speculative knowledge or fruitive activity. Jnana karma janavritam. That's what it isn't, okay? That's what it isn't. What is it? It's behavior, achar, it's conduct, it's activity that's pleasing to Krishna. Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilana. Shila means behavior, right? And Anu Shila means behavior that's following the pure devotees. Anu Shilana. And the pure devotees do what? They do that which is pleasing to Krishna. Anukul. Krishna is pleasing to Krishna. That's at the heart. So when one's soul meditation is what's pleasing to Krishna, manmana. And the mind doesn't go elsewhere, it's just manmana. The mind is absorbed in what's pleasing to Krishna. Manmana. And there's no mixture of other things, no mixture of speculative knowledge, no mixture of fruitive activities. That's the standard. That's the litmus test. Now, that's the bottom of the iceberg, and then there's values and behaviors that have to be in alignment with that bottom of the iceberg. And if you see behaviors that are different or values that are different, then it's not pure devotion, because pure devotion has that alignment. And that's the litmus test. Now, well, I could go further. The residents of Vrindavan have that standard, although worldly standards may look like, wait a minute. Right? Or, the Battle of Kurukshetra. Wait a minute. People that they shouldn't do battle, they shouldn't be killed and all that stuff. There's subtleties to all of this, but that's the principle. Here's a good example. Krishna telling Yudhishthira, say to Drona, Ashwatthama is dead. Right? Now, is that Is that pure devotion or not? I mean, if when Yudhishthir was reluctant to say that, was that pure devotion? Or when he said it, was it pure devotion? Yes. Because some people say otherwise. Some people say, Bhaktisiddhanta discusses this, Yudhishthir's chariot used to rise above the ground, and after he said that, his chariot touched the ground because he told a lie. But it's not because he told the lie, it's because he hesitated to do what was pleasing to Krishna. His chariot touched the ground. Anyway, so there's application of that principle, but that's the standard. When Arjuna was hesitating, that wasn't pure devotion. When he was prepared to do what Krishna wanted, that was pure devotion. And there's so many other applications of that principle, but that's the principle. Anything else?
Yudhishthir is
Can we give you the microphone because there may be some remote people that need to hear. Yudhishthir what?
so Yudhishthir is not a pure devotee?
Oh, he's a pure devotee.
No, at that moment. For
He
that-
hesitated. When he hesitated, it was a behavior of one who is not a pure devotee. It was the behavior of one. Krishna induced him to hesitate. So we don't put a bad mark on his report card. He was hesitating because Krishna induced him to teach a lesson. And there's the lesson. The standard of pure devotion is what is pleasing to Krishna, that's what I do. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. Or anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. Whatever's pleasing, I accept. Whatever's not pleasing, I don't. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maharaj, when you said this particular point, I was looking into the purport of Prabhupada. The first para itself, Prabhupada mentions, he was trying to differentiate between impersonalist and personalist. For impersonalist, this Bhuta Prasannatma, this is the topmost level. But for devotees, from there the devotional service start. So after reading this, I had this thought. We've often seen that we are practicing devotional service, but we don't have certain good qualities, which impersonalists do have.
Well, you're pausing and looking at me, but I'm going to go like this. But go ahead.
Yeah, so we focus, most of the time we focus on the topmost level, that devotional service is there. But the basic good qualities, we often lack developing in our life.
I agree with you completely that we lack those good qualities. But what's the pratishta? What's the basis and foundation and support for good qualities? Good qualities that come and go are not good qualities.
Yeah.
Good qualities that come are not good qualities. Good qualities that go are not good qualities. What's good qualities that don't come and go?
Okay.
It's resting upon bhakti.
Yeah.
So now, supposing I'm born in America, and I've grown up in the culture of no culture, and I don't have good qualities, but I like to think that I have good qualities because people like to think they have good qualities. So I'm a conditioned soul that likes to think, and then I meet devotees and I realize, gosh, I don't have good qualities at all. But I want to do devotional service. So they go together. One could say, sometimes Prabhupada would say, no need for extraneous endeavor to develop good qualities, they'll follow. And then another explanation is, I want to please Krishna. That's my mission of life. I want to please Krishna. And when I come before Krishna, I want Krishna to smile. Supposing I'm unclean. I want to make myself clean so Krishna will smile. Supposing I have a tendency to be angry. And, I want Krishna to smile. So I don't want to come before Krishna with that bad quality. So my way of saying this is, you put the cart before the horse. No, you put the horse before the cart. And the horse is pleasing Krishna. And then the cart starts to fill up. Good qualities will come. But I need to cultivate them because I want to please Krishna. Not that, Krishna is my janitor, he's going to clean up my dirty business. I just do my Krishna bhakti and Krishna is going to be my janitor. No.
That will take special endeavor.
Yeah, we consciously strive for good qualities because of the bhakti principle. Now, supposing, back to what you said, and because I was going to say no. They have good qualities, but, wait a while, and where's that good quality go? Because it's the basis and support and rest is not pleasing Krishna. That's so. All right? Okay. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So can a devotee in the early stages of practicing devotional services, can he experience the pure devotional service?
Can a new devotee do what?
Can a devotee practicing devotional services experience the pure devotional service by any chance, like pure bhakti? Or it will happen only after a certain stage?
Well, let's look at the definition. Okay, here Rupa Goswami has given us, we'll just say for English, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu or Nectar of Devotion. He's given us that science of bhakti. In the science of bhakti, there's three main parts: sadhana, bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti. So it's like the question I asked, is the tulsi the seed, or only when it sprouts, or after it's fully matured, or what? So it's all those. So bhakti is also sadhana bhakti. And sadhana bhakti, if it continues by proper guidance and following it in mercy, etc., it becomes mature. But even in the immature stage, if it's following properly, it's also pure, because bhakti is pure. Even my consciousness may not be pure, my consciousness may be quite immature, but it's bhakti, provided I continue. That's a big provision. But provided I continue, then it becomes matured. Does that answer your question?
So in the early stages, can a devotee
Yes,
experience?
it's sadhana. The early stages means sadhana bhakti. So just take it in those terms. Is sadhana bhakti part of bhakti? That's your question. The answer is yes. And I'm giving a little qualifier. Provided it's following the guidelines given by such elevated souls as Rupa Goswami. So it's anushilana. Anu means following. Shilana means behavior. Anushilana is the cultivation of, I'm not there yet, I'm just a beginner, I'm just doing sadhana. But the cultivation is in place. Supposing I'm a neophyte and I don't follow. I just do neophyte stuff and I'm not paying attention to what exalted, so what our acharyas are teaching us, and I'm not trying to follow them and just doing neophyte devotional service. That's not pure devotional service. But one who is following, that's in this seedling, immature, not yet matured stage. So, the answer, the response that was given before, the intention behind is very important. Sankalpa is very important. At every stage, including the beginning stage. So the intention is important, and the resource of mercy that one is reaching to is also important. Supposing somebody has good intention, but they don't have proper guidance. They're not going to reach maturity. They'll reach something, a misguided, misdirected, good-intentioned mistake. Right? There's this saying, even the path to hell is paved by good intention. I learned that when I was 6 years old. Good intention is not good enough. Good intention is essential, but it's not enough. The mercy part, proper guidance, and following that willingness to follow that guidance. That's this, the iceberg of culture. There's the behavior, and then there's the value, and then there's the unchanging reality. When those are in proper alignment, great. Then the answer to your question is yes. And those things are not, then it's quite uncertain. Most likely it won't be in the category of pure devotional service, nor will it mature there. It'll go this way or that way or somewhere. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anything else in the room, or we're going to end?
Life as it is, like even one follows Krishna or one follows or not follows anything at all, and just lives life to survive like an animal or like human being,
like an animal.
or like a human being, or
Okay, but that's just like an animal. If there's no guidance, there's not human yet. Human means with some guidance and some purpose.
guidance and purpose are needed.
Otherwise, it's animal.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's the same point of intention. Without naming names, there's lots of good intentioned people that do very hurtful things. I'm not going to name names, but there's some people in this world.
Yeah, Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he
Trump.
thinks he's right. He thinks he's,
No purpose, just living, surviving. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Trump.
I wouldn't say it, but you said it. So.
No, that is true, right?
Yeah. Well,
he has no purpose. Only surviving is his purpose.
Yeah. He's a bully. So. But as far as he's concerned, he's trying to help. He's trying to make a better world. Anyway, without all the analysis of him.
He has so much help from other people.
Yeah.
Individually, he is animal.
Yeah, he's got a lot of people like go. So anyway, there's other people that are like that too. So there has to be proper guidance. There must be
purpose also.
Yes. So.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's it. We're done. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, who's going to do the Ra Gita Jayanti, Bhagavad-Gita?
Hare Krishna. So today is Bhagavad-Gita Jayanti. So on behalf of that, couple of devotees sponsored Bhagavad-Gita. They want to get it from your hand. Shanta Mataji is sponsored for 5. She wants to give it to her friends and colleagues. And Dr. Ashok actually just left, I guess. He's here. He sponsored for one full case of Bhagavad Gita, but